The boardroom fell silent as my brother's words hung in the air like poison. I gripped my coffee cup so hard I thought it might shatter, forcing myself to maintain composure while my world crumbled around me. My name is Ingrid, and exactly 43 minutes ago, I walked into this meeting expecting to finalize my position as CEO of Wright Enterprises. Instead, I'm watching my younger brother Harley steal everything I've spent the last 15 years building. As you can see, Harley continued, his voice dripping with false concern, my sister's recent extended absence has created significant operational challenges. The board agrees we need consistent leadership moving forward. Extended absence? I cut in, my voice sharp enough to make several board members flinch. You mean my maternity leave? The same leave I shortened to 8 weeks instead of 12 to maintain company stability? Harley smiled that practiced smile of his, the one that never quite reached his eyes. Come now, Ingrid, this isn't personal, it's just business. Bullshit. I turned to face Lindsay, who had always been my strongest supporter on the board. You're okay with this? Lindsay wouldn't meet my eyes. The vote was taken last week, Ingrid. It was unanimous. My phone buzzed in my pocket, probably my nanny texting about my daughter's feeding schedule. The irony wasn't lost on me. Here I was, losing my position partly because of motherhood, while simultaneously trying to be the best mother I could. So that's it? I stood up, straightening my blazer. 15 years of driving this company's growth, doubling our market share, and modernizing our entire operation, all erased because I took maternity leave? Your contributions are appreciated, Harley said, shuffling some papers. You'll retain your board seat, of course, and we've prepared a very generous compensation package. Spare me. I gathered my things, noting how Miles, our CFO, was studying his hands with unusual intensity. There was more to this story. I could feel it in my bones. Ingrid, Harley called as I reached the door. Don't make this difficult. It's already done. I turned back, meeting his gaze. You know what's funny, Harley? Dad always said you had his business sense, but I had his heart. Turns out we were both wrong about you having either. The door clicked shut behind me with satisfying finality. My heels echoed down the marble hallway as I made my way to my office. Soon to be Harley's office, I supposed. My assistant Margaret's face told me she'd already heard the news. Margaret, I need everything from the last 3 months of board meetings. Every email, every memo, every post-it note if you have to. Of course, she hesitated. Ingrid, I'm so sorry. Don't be. I managed a smile. This isn't over, not by a long shot. My phone buzzed again. This time it was Abby. Just heard, wine tonight? You can bring the baby. I texted back quickly. My place, 8 p.m., bring the good stuff. Sitting at my desk, I looked at the photo of my daughter, barely 3 months old. Watch and learn, little one, I whispered. Mommy's about to teach Uncle Harley a lesson about consequences. The game was on, and Harley had no idea what he'd just started. He thought motherhood had made me soft. He was about to learn that it had made me fiercer than ever. He did what? Abby nearly spilled her wine as she bounced my daughter Emma on her knee. That sneaky little language, I warned, nodding toward Emma. But yes, that's exactly what he did. We were sitting in my living room, surrounded by case files and meeting minutes that Margaret had smuggled out before IT could restrict my access. The baby monitor hummed quietly on the coffee table, and empty takeout containers littered the floor. Have you called Miles yet? Abby asked, gently placing Emma in her bouncer. He's coming over tomorrow morning. Said he has something important to tell me, but wouldn't discuss it over the phone. My phone lit up with a text from Lindsay. Can we talk? Privately? Interesting timing, I muttered, showing Abby the message. You think she's feeling guilty? I think she's feeling something. I typed back, tomorrow, 2 p.m., the usual spot. Abby started sorting through the papers. Look at this. 3 new board members appointed in the last 4 months, all while you were on leave. What? I snatched the document. That's not possible. Board appointments need majority approval, including the CEO's signature. Unless, Abby's eyes widened. Unless someone forged my signature. I felt my blood pressure rising. Margaret mentioned something about emergency meetings during my leave. I thought they were about the Miller account, but clearly, Emma started fussing, and I scooped her up, pacing the room as I rocked her. You know what kills me, Abby? I took calls from the hospital bed. I reviewed quarterly projections while pumping. I did everything to prove I could be both a mother and CEO. Because you shouldn't have to choose, Abby said firmly, and we're going to prove that. My doorbell rang, making Emma jump. I wasn't expecting anyone else tonight. I'll get it, Abby offered, but I was already heading to the door, Emma still in my arms. It was Noelle from the board, looking uncomfortable in my residential building's hallway. I'm sorry to drop by unannounced. I stepped aside to let her in. No, please, come in. Wine? I can't stay long. Noelle's eyes darted to Emma, then back to me. I need you to know I didn't want to vote for Harley. None of us did. What do you mean? He has something on everyone. Documents, recordings. I don't know what exactly, but she wrung her hands. Look, I'm a single mom. I can't risk. Noelle, I interrupted gently. Start from the beginning. She took a deep breath. 3 months ago, Harley called me into his office. He had proof that I'd been falsifying my hours to cover school pickups. He said if I didn't support him, he blackmailed you? Abby's voice was sharp. All of us. Different reasons, same threat. Noelle's eyes welled up. I'm so sorry, Ingrid. I should have told you sooner. I handed Emma to Abby and grabbed my laptop. Noelle, I need you to tell me everything. Names, dates, exactly what Harley said. As Noelle talked, I typed furiously. My brother hadn't just staged a coup. He'd orchestrated a full-scale manipulation of the entire board. But he'd made one crucial mistake. He'd underestimated how many people would be willing to fight back. Abby, I said, still typing. Call Miles. Tell him to come tonight instead. We've got work to do. Miles arrived within the hour, clutching a thick manila envelope and looking like he hadn't slept in days. You're not going to believe what I found. We gathered around my dining room table, now covered in documents. Emma was finally asleep in her nursery, the baby monitor casting a soft blue glow over our impromptu war council. Start with the money, Miles said, spreading out financial statements. 3 months ago, large sums started moving through shell companies, all authorized under your electronic signature. But I stopped, remembering. My laptop was upgraded while I was on leave. I'd said it was routine maintenance. Exactly. Miles pointed to a series of transactions. They installed software to capture your credentials. Every digital signature you made after that was copied and stored. Noelle leaned forward. That's how he got the board appointment approvals? Among other things. Miles pulled out more papers. He's been systematically dismantling your support network for months. Look at these termination notices. I scanned the list of names, all loyal employees who'd supported my leadership over the years. He fired them? Transferred mostly, to subsidiaries in other countries. Miles's face darkened, places where they couldn't interfere with his plans. My phone buzzed, a text from Lindsay. Emergency board meeting tomorrow morning. Harley's making major structural changes. He's moving fast, Abby observed, reading over my shoulder. Because he knows I'm on to him. I stood up, pacing. Noelle, how many other board members would speak up if they knew they weren't alone? Most of them, probably. We're all terrified of what Harley might reveal. But if we stood together, a knock at my door made us all jump. I checked the security camera on my phone and felt my stomach drop. Harley. Everyone into the nursery, I whispered. Now. Once they were hidden, I opened the door. Harley stood there in his perfectly tailored suit, looking irritatingly composed. Working late, sis. He peered past me into the apartment. What do you want, Harley? He held up a USB drive. To return something that belongs to you. Your old laptop backup. Thought you might want your personal files. I didn't reach for it. How considerate. I'm not the bad guy here, Ingrid. I'm protecting our father's legacy. You're too distracted now. He glanced toward the nursery. Being a mother is honorable. Let it be enough. Get out. The board meets at 9 tomorrow. Don't make me formalize your removal with security present. It would be undignified. After he left, the others emerged from the nursery. Noel was shaking. He knows. He has to know we're planning something. No, I said, staring at the USB drive Harley had left. He's scared. That was a peace offering, a weak one. Miles picked up the drive. We shouldn't. Oh, we absolutely should. I booted up my computer. Harley just made his first mistake. He gave us access to his own network. How? Abby asked. I smiled grimly. Because that's not my backup. That's his working drive. I recognized the scratch on the corner. He grabbed the wrong one in his hurry to appear in control. So, what's our next move? Noel asked. We have, I checked my watch, 12 hours until that board meeting. Let's make them count. Got it. Miles's triumphant shout broke through the pre-dawn quiet. We'd been combing through Harley's drive all night, fueled by coffee and righteous anger. Email threads with every board member. He wasn't just blackmailing them, he was playing them against each other. Emma stirred in her playpen beside my desk, and I quickly scooped her up before she could cry. Show me. Look at this one to Robert. Miles pointed at the screen. Ingrid's planning to dissolve the entire board once she returns. Noelle already agreed to support her. Noelle, who'd stayed despite my insistence she go home, gasped. That's why Robert wouldn't even look at me last week. Harley told him I was conspiring against the board. Classic divide and conquer, Abby muttered, bringing in fresh coffee. He isolated everyone so they couldn't compare notes. My phone rang. Lindsay. Ingrid, are you alone? You're on speaker with friends, I answered, bouncing Emma gently. Good. Listen, Harley just called and pre-meeting breakfast with select board members. He's gathering supporters before the main meeting. Who's invited? The 3 new members, Robert and me. He doesn't know I'm with you. I looked at my team. Can you record it? Already planned to. But Ingrid, Lindsay hesitated. He's preparing severance documents. He's going to try to force you out completely. Let him try. I ended the call and turned to Miles. How long to compile everything we found? Give me an hour, but Ingrid, are you sure about this? Once we expose him, there's no going back. He's still your brother. He stopped being my brother the moment he used my maternity leave as a weapon. I kissed Emma's forehead. Besides, he's not just hurting me. He's hurting everyone in that company who's ever chosen family over FaceTime. Noelle stood up straighter. I'll call the other board members. Get them there early. I'll handle the presentation, Abby added. You focus on what you're going to say. An hour later, I walked into the office building, Emma in her carrier. Security did a double take. They weren't used to seeing babies in the executive floor, but I wanted everyone to see exactly who I was fighting for. The elevator opened to reveal Harley, apparently heading to his breakfast meeting. He froze when he saw us. Bringing visual aids to the meeting, sis? His smile was strained. Just showing my daughter where Mommy works. I stepped into the elevator. You know, Harley, Dad used to carry me into board meetings when I was her age. Said it taught me business wasn't about being ruthless. It was about building something worth passing on. Dad's not here anymore. No, but his values are. At least they're supposed to be. The elevator stopped. Before stepping out, Harley turned back. It's not too late to take the severance, Ingrid. Walk away clean. I adjusted Emma's carrier. You know what's funny? You were so focused on using my motherhood against me, you forgot what it means to be a mother. I met his eyes. We don't give up. We fight harder. The elevator doors closed on his face, and I checked my phone. 3 new messages. Lindsay, recording everything. You won't believe what he's saying. Miles, documents ready. Board members arriving early. Abby, presentation set up in the boardroom. Time to end this. I took a deep breath and whispered to Emma, ready to watch Mommy take back what's hers. The boardroom was already half full when I entered, Emma contentedly sleeping in her carrier. Harley's breakfast meeting must have ended early. He sat at the head of the table, my former seat, looking smugly confident. Before we begin, Harley announced, I have some documents to distribute regarding. Actually, I cut in, I have something to share first. I nodded to Abby, who started the presentation. It's about integrity, manipulation, and the true meaning of leadership. The first slide appeared, screenshots of Harley's emails to Robert about Noelle's supposed betrayal. Robert's face went pale. What is this? Harley stood up, but I kept going. For months, my brother has been orchestrating an elaborate scheme. He's blackmailed board members, forged signatures, and manipulated everyone in this room. I clicked to the next slide, the financial records, including embezzling company funds to pay for his private ventures. The room erupted in whispers. Harley slammed his hand on the table. These documents are clearly fabricated. They're from your own drive, Harley, the one you accidentally gave me last night. I turned to the board members. Each of you received threats from him. Each of you thought you were alone. You weren't. Noel stood up. He threatened to expose my flexible working hours, hours I used to care for my son. He had photos of me at addiction recovery meetings. Another board member added quietly. My divorce proceedings, said another. One by one, they spoke up, their voices growing stronger. Harley's face turned from red to white. This is absurd, he sputtered. Ingrid is just bitter about. About what? Lindsay interrupted, playing the recording from the breakfast meeting. Harley's voice filled the room. Once we push her out completely, we can restructure without all this work-life balance nonsense. Business is business. Emma chose that moment to wake up, making a small noise. Every eye in the room turned to us. You see that little girl? I said, my voice steady. She's the future, and so is every child of every parent who works here. When you attack working parents, you don't just hurt them, you hurt the next generation of leaders. This is emotional manipulation, Harley snapped. She's using that baby as a prop. No, Robert said, standing. She's showing us what we forgot, that humanity and business aren't mutually exclusive. He turned to me. I moved to reinstate Ingrid as CEO, effective immediately. Seconded, Noel called out. This is a formal meeting, Harley protested. We need proper procedure. All in favor? Lindsay asked. Hands shot up around the table, every single one except Harley's. Motion carried, Miles announced, unable to hide his smile. Harley looked around wildly, seeing his support crumble. You can't do this. I'll fight it. With what? I asked quietly. The evidence of your blackmail? The proof of your embezzlement? Face it, Harley. You lost. He stormed toward the door, then turned back. This isn't over. Actually, it is, said a new voice. Our company's legal counsel stood in the doorway. The authorities would like to speak with you about those financial irregularities. As Harley was escorted out, I took my seat at the head of the table, settling Emma's carrier beside me. Now, I said, opening my laptop, shall we discuss the company's actual future? The board members straightened in their seats, ready to work. This time without fear or shame, but with renewed purpose and pride. He's refusing to speak to anyone except you, Miles said, handing me a coffee as I walked into the office the next morning. His lawyer called 3 times already. I settled Emma into the new nursery space we'd set up in the corner of my office. Let him wait. We have more important things to handle first. Like the press? Abby appeared in the doorway, holding up her tablet. They're calling it the mother of all comebacks. Social media is exploding. Focus on the policy changes, I told her. The new parental leave guidelines, flexible working hours, on-site childcare facility. That's the story we want told. My phone buzzed. A text from our mother. Please talk to your brother. He needs you. I set the phone face down just as Noelle rushed in. Ingrid, you need to see this. Harley sent an email to all employees. The message was brief but devastating. My sister's victory comes at a cost. Expect major layoffs as she implements her family-friendly policies. Your jobs are the price of her agenda. He's trying to turn the staff against you, Miles growled. No, I said, standing up. He's trying to make me choose between being compassionate and being effective. Call an all-hands meeting, now. 30 minutes later, I stood before hundreds of nervous employees, Emma sleeping peacefully in her carrier beside me. By now, you've all seen my brother's email, I began. He wants you to believe that supporting families means sacrificing success. He's wrong. When people don't have to choose between their children and their careers, they work better, they innovate more, they stay longer. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. I'm not planning layoffs, I'm planning growth, but I need you to trust me. I paused, looking at their faces. My daughter reminds me every day that leadership isn't about power. It's about responsibility to our employees, their families, and our future. A hand raised in the back. What about those of us without kids? Excellent question. Our new policies cover all forms of family care, aging parents, sick partners, personal health, because everyone deserves support when they need it. The tension in the room visibly eased. As people filed out after the meeting, many stopped to share their stories of missed soccer games, of sick parents, of choosing between career advancement and family obligations. Later that afternoon, Lindsay found me reviewing budget proposals. Harley's still waiting at the police station. I sighed, looking at Emma playing with her toys. I suppose I can't avoid him forever. Want me to watch her while you go? No. I picked up Emma and my bag. He needs to see exactly who he was fighting against. The police station was quiet when I arrived. They led me to an interview room where Harley sat, his expensive suit wrinkled, his arrogance finally cracked. Come to gloat? He asked as I sat down. No, I came to understand why. Because you were weak, he spat. Taking time off, demanding special treatment, creating a better workplace, I corrected, adjusting Emma in my arms. That's not weakness, Harley. That's evolution. He stared at Emma, something shifting in his expression. Dad would have hated all these changes. Dad carried me into board meetings, remember? He knew what you forgot. That family makes us stronger, not weaker. It's too late now anyway, he muttered. For your old job? Yes. For being my brother? That depends on you. I stood to leave, but paused at the door. The company's future is secure, Harley. The question is, what's yours gonna be? The board has unanimously approved the new policies, Lindsay announced, sliding the documents across my desk, including the rehabilitation program funding. I looked up from where I was feeding Emma her morning bottle. Harley's program? Your suggestion to fund employee addiction and mental health treatment? The press is calling it revolutionary. She smiled. Though they don't know it was inspired by your brother. 3 months had passed since Harley's arrest. He'd agreed to a plea deal, including restitution and mandatory counseling. The embezzled funds had been recovered, and the company was thriving under the new initiatives. My office door opened, and Noelle rushed in. Turn on the news! The financial channel was featuring our company. Wright Enterprises sets new industry standard with comprehensive family care policies. Stock prices surge as employee retention rates hit record highs. Not bad for a mom with a baby on her hip, Abby said, walking in with coffee for everyone. My phone buzzed. A message from the rehabilitation center. Your brother would like to schedule a visit. Are you going to go? Noelle asked, reading over my shoulder. I think I have to. I handed Emma to Abby. Can you watch her for an hour? The rehabilitation center was nothing like I'd imagined. Bright, open spaces filled with natural light. Harley sat in the garden, looking smaller somehow in casual clothes. You look well, I said, sitting across from him. Turns out facing your demons is easier than running from them. He fidgeted with his coffee cup. I've been doing a lot of thinking. About Dad, about us. And you were right, about everything. He met my eyes. I was terrified of change, of losing control. When you went on maternity leave, I convinced myself you were abandoning the company like Mom abandoned us. Mom was sick, Harley. She didn't abandon us. I know that now. My therapist, he smiled slightly. She's helping me understand a lot of things. The company's funding a treatment program, I told him, for employees and their families. Your idea, really? He looked surprised. My idea? You showed me how many people are struggling silently. Now they don't have to. A comfortable silence fell between us. In the distance, a child laughed in the visitors' playground. I watched your all-hands meeting video, Harley said quietly. You're 10 times the leader I could ever be. It's not a competition anymore. No, it's not. He straightened up. I'm pleading guilty at the hearing next week, taking full responsibility. I know. The lawyer told me. Will you? He hesitated. Will you bring Emma to visit sometimes? When I'm allowed visitors? I studied his face, the genuine remorse, the hope, the fear. She should know her uncle, the real one, not the one who was trying to prove something to a ghost. Harley's eyes welled up. Thank you. As I stood to leave, he called after me. Ingrid, the company, Dad would be proud. Of you, I mean. He'd be proud of both of us, I replied. You for getting help, me for helping others. Walking back to my car, I felt lighter somehow. My phone buzzed with a message from Miles. Forbes wants to interview you, something about redefining corporate leadership. I smiled, typing back, schedule it, but make it a lunch meeting. Emma needs her feeding time. The future was looking bright, not just for me and Emma, but for everyone who'd ever felt forced to choose between family and success. Sometimes I realized the best revenge isn't punishment, it's progress. Ready for your first day back? I asked, straightening Harley's tie in the lobby of Wright Enterprises. As ready as I'll ever be. He looked nervous but determined. The board really approved this? Unanimously. The rehabilitation program needs a director who understands both sides of addiction. Who better than you? Emma, now walking and chattering, tugged at Harley's pant leg. Up, up! He scooped her up, his face softening. Thanks for believing in me, Squirt. You and your mom. Speaking of which, I checked my watch. We have that parent-employee committee meeting in 10 minutes. The conference room was packed when we arrived. Noelle stood at the front, presenting the latest statistics. Employee satisfaction up 85%, retention rate at an all-time high. And, she grinned, we've been named Most Family-Friendly Workplace by Business Weekly. Tell them the best part, Lindsay called out. 3 other major corporations have adopted our policies. Looks like we started a trend. I bounced Emma on my hip, watching Harley take his seat among the other employees. No special treatment, just like he'd insisted. Next item, Miles announced, the expansion of our childcare facility. Ingrid? Actually, I said, I'd like Harley to present this one. It was his proposal. Harley stood, slightly shaky but determined. When I was away, I met many people who'd lost everything to addiction. Not because they were weak, but because they felt alone. Our child care center helps parents feel supported. I propose we expand that support to include after-school programs for older kids, especially those with parents in recovery. The room fell silent. Then Noelle spoke up. As a single mom, I second that proposal. All in favor? I asked. Every hand went up. After the meeting, Abby found me in my office. Have you seen the numbers from the West Coast branch? Their productivity jumped 40% after implementing the flexible hours. Because happy employees are productive employees. I helped Emma stack blocks on my desk. Who knew being human could be good for business? Speaking of business, Miles poked his head in. The investment group is here for their tour. I gathered Emma and headed to the lobby where a group of suited executives waited. Their eyes widened at my daughter on my hip. Welcome to Wright Enterprises, I said. Let me show you how we're building the future. We walked through the office, past the bustling childcare center, the quiet rooms for nursing mothers, the wellness center where Harley was setting up his first support group. This is unusual, one investor commented. This is revolutionary, I corrected. We've proven that supporting families increases productivity, innovation, and profit. But more importantly, it's right. Emma waved at Harley through his office window, and he waved back, a genuine smile on his face. The investors watched this exchange, their expressions shifting from skepticism to interest. You know, the lead investor said, I missed my daughter's first steps because of a board meeting. Maybe it's time for change across the industry. I looked around at my company, at Noelle mentoring a young parent, at Lindsay leading a project team with her service dog at her feet, at Harley helping someone find their strength. Change is already here, I said, hugging Emma close. We're just showing everyone how it's done. This wasn't just a victory over Harley's betrayal anymore. It was a revolution in how business could be done. And it started with one simple truth. Family isn't a liability. It's our greatest strength.